Hi, I'm Marty Schupak. I want to welcome you to Schupak Sports, our YouTube channel. And this episode is for T-ball coaches and for parents of T-ball players and anyone interested in T-ball. It's our first practice template number one for T-ball. Before I get into it, I just want to congratulate you if you are coaching T-ball. Keep in mind, this is the first time for a lot of these young kids to be involved in a team youth sport. Some of them will play soccer, but I have found that T-ball generally is the first team a lot of these young kids uh, are involved in. Keep in mind also when you're coaching, uh, there's a disparity in the age of the T-ball players. I've done research, and T-ball teams in the United States could start anywhere from 4 years old and go up to 7 years old. I focus right in between on the 5 and 6 year old T-ball kids. Keep in mind when you're coaching, you're going to have some players that are coming back for their second season. A lot of the drills I'm showing you, it's in the best interest of you and the kids to divide them by ability. It doesn't make a lot of sense if you have kids that really are able to throw and hit really well if you mix them with kids that aren't. You could do that in some team drills, but initially you utilize your assistant coaches and divide your team according to ability when you are practicing. You get a lot more repetitions for the kids and a lot more meaningful repetitions in T-ball. With the new kids that don't seem very athletic, be very patient. Keep in mind that kids progress at different stages. This will become a frustration for parents when they see a 5 year old that's able to throw a ball better than their son and daughter who's 6 years old. That's not to say the 6 year old will become a better athlete when they're 10, 11, 12, or 15 or 16. But you should have a parents' meeting. And when you do, you should state that don't get frustrated if you see other kids more advanced than your own. I know as a parent, I went through that when my oldest son first started playing T-ball. He was one of the weaker players on the team as far as skills. Keep in mind also, uh, I hear all the time, I used to run youth baseball coaching clinics around the country, and I'd have a question and answer period. And a lot of times I'd get the question, hey, coach, the stuff you're telling is true and makes sense, but our kids are different here up in Springfield, Massachusetts, than the ones down in Dade County, Florida. And what I tell them, I say, listen, I hear this all the time. Kids are kids, whether it's Newton, Massachusetts, Anchorage, Alaska, Santa Clara, California, Tyler, Texas. Most 5 and 6 year old kids are very similar. There's not that much of a difference. And the drills that I show you will work anywhere you're coaching around the country and around the world. Keep in mind, too, and we're going to get to the drills right away. My motivation in showing you this is I don't want you to have to put my drills in concrete and use them as they are. If you put on your creative hats, and I want you to, you could take some of my drills and make them better, or you want to try to do it differently, please do. Okay? If you do make them different and they work, I'd love to hear from you. Also, keep in mind when you're working with young kids, T-ball, and a little above T-ball, Early in the season, you want to separate skills. By this, I mean when you're doing throwing drills, don't have them catch the ball in the same drill. If you're doing catching drills, don't have them throw the ball in the same drill. Now, I'm going to repeat this over and over again if you keep following these practice templates. But some parents and coaches, they take it too much to heart when I tell them to separate skills. That doesn't mean you do it for the whole season. When I say separate skills and drills, it's only to do for a matter of minutes, the first, second, or maybe even the third practice in the season. And you want to do it mostly with your young kids too on the team. Like I said, if you have 5 and 6 year olds, do it with the younger kids, separate skills. All right. All right, let's get to the drills right now. This is T-ball practice template number 1. And I always recommend in T-ball, do it any way you want. Shorter practices are much better than longer practices. I recommend a practice no longer than 45 minutes. Maybe you could go up to an hour. It's up to you. Kids, 5 and 6 year olds, they have a limited attention span. All right. My formula, and I've battle tested it over the years at all levels in baseball and softball and even other sports, try to integrate fun drills with skill drills. Okay. What I mean by that is if you have a skill drill where they're throwing a baseball and it's a little bit of effort, right after that, transition into a fun drill. And I'll show you what I mean as we go along. First thing I want to mention is the first thing you do in any practice is you warm up. I neglected to do this when I coached. It was a mistake. Studies have shown even the shortest minutes of warming up, 3, 4, or 5 minutes, will help benefit the kids, even at the very young age of 5 or 6. Besides that, you're getting kids into good lifetime habits when they grow up to be adults. If they become joggers or weekend golfers or weekend tennis players, handball players, they'll learn that it's in their benefit to warm up. So spend a few minutes warming up, do arm rotations, run around the infield. And a big plus for the team and for the parents that stay and watch practice, if you coaches could run with the team, I think it really helps out too. First drill is the line throw drill. In this drill, if you see between second base and third base, like around the position where they play shortstop and third, I line up balls and I line the team up. And on the go command, one line at a time, we got to run, pick up the ball, and throw it to first. In this particular drill, it's showing 2 players. I like to have a coach at first base, the T-ball. Now, keep in mind, a lot of your players aren't going to be able to reach from this position over here. Tell them before the drill starts, it's okay if you reach on 1 or 2 bounces. When they're through, they go to the end of the next line. And then this person goes, when they're through, they go to the end of the next line. It's a good drill. It's given them a lot of repetitions in a short period of time, and they're loosening up their arm. This is the line throw drill. That's the first drill we do. Continuing with that, something that the kids love, and it's another throwing drill, it's called the circle drill. We set up a circle, and we have 1 ball, and the players have to throw a grounder to anyone in the circle except for the player next to them. And a player will pick it up, and they'll continue on, throw it to another person. Can't be a person next to them. Usually it's across the circle. Right here, I just want to recommend when you're doing T-ball fielding drills, I'm a huge believer using soft covered balls and in a lot of drills, have them do it without their glove, barehanded. There's a couple of reasons for this. The first reason is I found T-ball kids and even older, like 8, 9, and 10, when they have their glove, they do a lot of reaching for the ball. I want kids to get into the habit of moving their feet and trying to field the ball in the center of the body. Now, T-ball kids won't quite understand that. You don't want to give them too much information. But when they're fielding the ball barehanded, you'll see they'll have more feet movement than normally if they have a glove on. The other reason is also, we're in a very diverse time where we have a lot of immigrants. I've told parents to go out and get a T-ball glove. They've gone to a big box store, and in the sporting goods section, they'll have these gloves packed in a package, and on top it'll say official T-ball glove. As far as I know, there is no official T-ball glove that you can get in a big box store. What happens is these gloves turn out to be what I call pancake gloves. They're as flat as my hand, and it's almost impossible to field. We want to help the parents that don't know a lot about the game what to buy. We don't want them to waste their money. But in this drill, the circle drill, we're throwing ground balls, and they're catching, you want to do it barehanded. You count the number of times they catch the ball without making an error. Now, young kids, you might want to explain this philosophy. You don't have to necessarily catch the ball in this drill. You have to stop it and keep it in front of your body. We want kids to get in the habit, even at the youngest age, of stopping the ball in front of their body. This is the circle drill. A little tip: when they're older, you could do fly balls on the, or line drives on this. And you could also do with ground balls. I like to throw in 2 baseballs at the same time. It's too much for T-ball kids, but for older kids, they enjoy that. Also, you could break this circle into 2 small circles. Older kids, you could have a competition. Kids love competition. That's the circle drill. And then I break it up. We did 2 throw drills, and I do something that they have familiarity with, and it's a relay drill. And what I do is I put a baseball theme in it. As you see, we have cones here, but I have the players hold their glove. Each player has the glove. They put the ball in the glove. Then on the go command, they have to run around the cone, go back. They have to take out the ball, pass it to the next guy. He has to squeeze the ball in the glove, and he does the same thing. He runs around the cone and goes back and passes it. We're teaching kids, it's a regular relay race, but the baseball concept is to squeeze the ball with the glove. You'll find sometimes kids will flip the ball. We want to get them in the habit of passing the ball. So that's the relay drill. Okay, the next drill we go to, I'm the proponent of base running, and this is the base to base drill. As you see here, I distinguish bases here. They're different shades, and what I've done is I use drop-down bases, and I'll spray paint one base red, which I'll use for first base, and another base blue, which I use for third. I keep second base white. And what I do this is because some of the kids will be familiar with the colors of the American flag: red, white, and blue. And that's the order we want them to run. You'll find in games, sometimes kids forget which bases to run to. I find that this technique is a great technique to get kids to run to the right base. I've had kids run the wrong way. I had a lefty, his name was Joey, where he would run to third base, second base, and first base. And we asked him, we told you run to first base. And he said, yeah, but they're all batting righty. I'm batting lefty. He was the only lefty. Anyway, in this drill, I have the players on the go command. We change it up, go from home to second. First player stays at second. And then the next player goes, you yell go. The player at second goes from second, third, and home. Then he goes to the end of the line. And I do this for the whole team. Then we switch it up, and we start at first base. We line up there, and they go from first to third, and the player stays at third. Then he goes home, and we continue this. But what you want to do is, you notice there's an adult there, an adult there. In the base running drills, you want to utilize your parents and assistant coaches. I tell my parents at the parents meeting, you're all assistant coaches. I put all your names into the league as assistant coaches. And I'll tell you, you do that, it's funny. The first thing you see is a look of fear in some of those parents. But there's a point to this too. And I tell them, look, I'm going to be asking you for your help during practices. Don't get insulted if I drag you out of your car when you're on your cell phone. All right. If it's just standing on a part of the field where they have to run around, you go the other way, you're going to be an assistant coach. All right. So this is the base to base drill. The next drill, it might seem a little ambiguous. I call it the target fence drill. It's a hitting drill. And what I do is I'm just putting in a sort of a twist where I'm putting rags in the fence, and I'm using a number of tees, and I'm having one coach at each station. They're feeding the ball. You could go like 3 to 5 times. There's about 3 or 4 kids at each station. And I say, swing the ball off the tee, and let's see if you could hit one of the rags on the fence. All right. All it is giving them something, an added, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. A little motivation when they're hitting. And you could do it without the rags on the screen, but when they hit the rags, they'll give a cheer of joy. So this is just something, a little twist you could use. This is the target fence drill. Easy to set up. You're going to use 3 or 4 tees. Utilize your assistant coaches. All right. The next drill, I call it the tennis racket hitting drill. And what I do is I bring about 2 or 3 old tennis rackets. You don't want to use new tennis rackets. And I usually bring 1 4-inch cinder block. You could use something at the field, but what I do is I bounce a tennis ball up on a cinder block, and they're holding a tennis racket, and they're swinging and hitting the tennis ball out into the field. What we're doing is we're seeing the kids, giving them a chance to succeed, hitting a moving object, a little different than hitting off a tee. But the fact that they have they're using a tennis racket is putting them in a position to succeed. This is a great backyard drill. Now, when you bounce the ball off, you have to take a step back right away, just so you know. So this is the tennis racket hitting drill. It's a great at-home drill too. Kids love it. All right. After we do that, we've done a number of drills. Then we do a scrimmage. What I do with the scrimmage too is I think it's very important that the kids scrimmage as a team. But if you have time, it really is beneficial if you could break your 12 players or 14 players into like 6 or 7 and have 2 small scrimmages and then combine the team. Remember, in all sports, repetition is the name of the game. You want to give kids as many repetitions as you can. Okay. And that's it. And you want to end it on a high note. You want to talk to your team. A lot of times when I talk to my T-ball team, I like to kneel down on one knee so my eye level is the same as their eye level. All right. And also you want to make sure as a coach, you're facing the sun. Okay. Couple of things too. My videos, if you are in any community that has a library, your community does have a public library, go in or call them up and ask them if they have a Hoopla program. Hoopla is a video program. You could view all my videos in any sport. baseball, t-ball, soccer, basketball, right on your computer or your smart TV. Just type in my name, Schupak Sports in Hoopla, and you'll get to view any of my videos. Couple of bonus tips for in t-ball. I want to emphasize, I mentioned it, a lot of the drills, fielding, use no gloves. You want to have them do it barehanded. The other thing is when you first are using the gloves, and again, I mentioned that some of the gloves are inferior in quality. You want to tell the whole team in this particular drill, you just want to make contact with the glove, not necessarily catch it. Okay. Again, we're putting players in the best position to succeed. Keep in mind also, and I mentioned at the very beginning, each young player progresses at a different pace. Make sure the parents don't get frustrated. Some of them will, and it's the hardest thing in the world for a parent to think that their kid is inferior in any way, scholastically, artistically, or athletically. We want to make the kids feel good, and we want to have support from the parents. So I'm going to wrap it up as far as, oh, please subscribe. I want to keep this format going as long as I could. I want to have as many practice templates as I could. The drills I just mentioned, come from T-ball drills. It's a book I put out recently, my latest T-ball book. It has over 110 drills. You get it at Amazon. You can type in my name, Marty Schupak, and just put comma T-ball or put in T-ball drills. As far as another product, here we go. If you're just getting started in coaching, I usually don't recommend to buy my products. I say, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. Ask your library to get it, they will. But this is one book, Baseball Coaching, a guide for the youth coach and parent, that if you're just getting started in coaching, you're going to use this every year for the next 5, 6, 7 years as a resource. So I highly recommend it. I actually recommend it in both formats, the hard copy and the e format. Reason being is I have 60 sample practices, and each drill is linked back to an explanation. So I'm going to wrap it up. I mentioned, please subscribe. For Schupak Sports, I'm Marty Schupak. Until next time.